Frank Sutton names the 7 actor she hates most. Frank Sutton was born Frank Spencer Sutton on October 23, 1923 in Clarksville, Tennessee. Sutton fell in love with acting when he was really young. He was really good at entertaining people and was already doing school plays and local theater when he was just a kid. This love for acting would help him get jobs later in Hollywood and on Broadway, even though Clarksville was a small town. Sutton had big dreams and he wanted to tell stories to people everywhere with his talent and hard work. After fighting for his country really well during World War II, Frank Sutton came home from the U.S. Army as a sergeant, a job that showed his leadership, strength, and good behavior. His time as a soldier not only taught him to be responsible, but also gave him experiences that he used later in his acting jobs, especially when playing tough guys who were in charge. When his army time was over, Sutton decided to follow his dream of acting. He started by acting on stage, jumping into the world of theater where he could practice his skills in front of real audiences. This early stage work gave him really good experience, teaching him the basics of timing, how to create characters, and how to be confident. Skills that would help him succeed later on TV and in movies because he wanted to get better at his art. Sutton went to the famous Columbia University School of General Studies in New York City, even though it was hard to balance school with his growing dreams. He did really well in school and graduated cum laude in 1952 with a college degree in drama. His good grades showed not only his natural talent but also his smart thinking and love for theater. Getting such good grades from a university as well known as Columbia gave Sutton respect as a serious actor and helped him get jobs in a business where both talent and never giving up were needed. All through 1950 seconds and into the early 1960s, Sutton slowly built his career by being on lots of different shows. He often played small but unforgettable parts in some of the most popular shows of that time. His appearances included guest spots on crime shows like Decoy, Naked City, and 87th Precinct, which let him show his intensity and dramaticness. He also did well on shows like Route 66, The Fugitive, and Gunsmoke, where he showed he could play many different roles that went from tough drifters to men who were in charge. Sutton also appeared on the greatest show on earth, The Goldbergs' Target, The Corruptors, Empire, The Twilight Zone, and The Untouchables, proving that he could do everything from suspense and action to science fiction. One of Sutton's first big roles was his repeating part in Tom Corbett's Space Cadet, which was on TV from 1950 to 1955. In this show, he played Cadet Rickerson, the main rival to the heroes of the Polaris unit. His character being competitive and fighting with the main characters gave the show much of its drama. Sutton's acting made him a face that TV audiences knew during that time. This role was an important step showing his ability to keep playing the same character and giving him exposure in a popular science fiction show at TV when people were starting to like the genre more. His big break came in 1955 when he was in the Academy Award-winning movie Marty. Sutton played Ralph, the friend of the main character played by Ernest Borgnine. Marty wasn't only loved by critics but also a landmark in Hollywood, winning 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Sutton's role, though not the main one, was important because it let him work alongside Borgnine and be part of a movie that was both popular and loved by critics. 10 years later, in 1965, Sutton went back to movies in the Cold War spy thriller Satan Bug, a tense drama that showed his ability to act in the action suspense type of movie. At the same time, Sutton kept his connection to theater, going back to the stage in plays like the Andersonville Trial in nearly 1960 seconds, proving even more his range as an actor who could move easily between stage and screen. While Sutton had mostly been cast in dramatic roles during this part of his career, his real breakthrough came in 1964 on an episode of The Andy Griffith Show. The episode introduced Jim Nibber's character Gomer Pyle to the Marine Corps and had Sutton playing Gunnery Sergeant Vince Carter. Carter was shown as a tough, mean, and easily frustrated drill instructor who was constantly annoyed by the clumsy but kind-hearted Gomer. The chemistry between Sutton's high-strung sergeant and Neighbor's gentle, innocent private was comedy gold, and audiences right away loved their relationship. The episode was so successful that it became the pilot for a spin-off show, Gomer Pyle USMC, from 1964 until 1969. Sutton starred with Neighbors in Gomer Pyle USMC, which ran for 5 really successful seasons. Sutton's acting as Sergeant Carter became famous, making him a part of American TV history. His character was both a bad guy and teacher, always torn between being frustrated at Gomer's silly behavior and really caring about him. Sutton's comedy timing, combined with his believable acting of military authority, made Sergeant Carter one of the most loved characters of the decade. Besides the show, Sutton even played the role again in public service announcements where he continued to be the gruff but caring sergeant for a good cause, after Gomer Pyle ended in 1969. Sutton did not disappear from TV. He often appeared on Jim Nabors' very charity show, The Jim Nabors Hour, where he teamed up again with Nabors and fellow Gomer Pyle co-star Ronnie Schill. On the show, Sutton often appeared in comedy sketches, sometimes playing Nabors' brother-in-law, which let him show a different comedy style outside the military background. This time kept Sutton in front of audiences and showed his ability to change as a performer who could do well in both scripted sitcoms and variety entertainment. Besides TV, Sutton tried new opportunities in dinner theater, where he took on roles in plays that let him reach audiences in a more personal live setting. One of his notable performances was in the comedy Norman, Is That You?, where he played the father, showing his ability to bring warmth and humor to the stage. He also made guest appearances on other TV programs during the 1970s, continuing to work steadily until his early death. Through all these roles, Frank Sutton showed that he was not only a talented actor, but also a flexible entertainer who could get both laughter and respect. In 1946, at the end of World War II, and just as he was starting to go from his military service back into regular life, Frank Sutton made one of the most important personal decisions of his life when he married Etta B.M. Ugler, a talented and respected soap opera writer. This marriage started a new chapter for Sutton, not only for his family life, but also in how it helped keep him steady during his early struggles in the entertainment business. Toby was a successful woman in her own right, at a time when female writers were still fighting to make themselves known in TV and radio. She built a reputation for herself as a sharp and creative voice in the field of daily dramas. Her job stability and writing talent gave Sutton a partner who understood the ups and downs of a creative career, and her support would become a steady force as he chased his dreams on stage and screen together. Frank and Toby built a home life that balanced the uncertainty of show business with the lasting values of love, loyalty, and commitment. Their marriage, which started short after the end of the war, lasted through the many changes of the 1950s, 1960s, and beyond. Unlike many Hollywood marriages that were hurt by scandal or ended early by the pursuits of fame, theirs was often noticed by friends and co-workers as one of quiet strength. They raised their two children with a sense of normalcy despite Sutton's growing fame as a character. Their first child, Joe Sutton, went on to make a name for himself as a playwright, proving that the artistic talent ran strong through the Sutton family. Joe's works in theater and literature showed the smart and creative environment in which he had been raised, a household where storytelling, performance, and creative talk were part of everyday life. His success gave both Frank and Toby huge pride as they saw their son continue the family's artistic legacy in his own special way. Their daughter, Amanda Sutton, though more private and less in the public eye than her brother, also represented the continuation of the family's love for building strong values and close relationships. While Amanda may not have chased a career in the arts on the same public stage as her father and brother, she was deeply loved by her parents and played a central role in keeping the warmth of the Sutton household. Through the years, Frank Sutton's marriage to Toby gave him the emotional foundation he needed to keep up a demanding career as an actor, especially one who often played loud, gruff, and funny military characters. Sutton relied on the stability of home to balance the public view of his on-screen character. Toby's understanding of character, dialogue, and story as a writer likely influenced Sutton's own approach to his craft, giving him an appreciation for the written word and the importance of small details in performance. Their bond, made in the aftermath of war and during a time of huge personal and professional growth, stayed a cornerstone of Sutton's life until his death. Frank Sutton, the Gravel-voiced actor best remembered for his booming role as Sergeant Vincent Carter on Gomer Pyle USMC, was never a man to hold back his words. Known for his fiery temper and blunt honesty, Sutton often spoke openly about the Hollywood machine, the personalities he fought with, and the actors he found unbearable. In one especially honest conversation, Sutton went so far as to name 7 actors he admitted to hating most, each for reasons that showed not just his own values as a performer, but also the fights and big egos that bulled under the surface of mid-century Hollywood. "I've never been one to hold my tongue," Sutton once said, "and if a man rubs me the wrong way, I'll let you know it." What followed was a list that shocked his peers, delivered with the biting wit and drill sergeant energy that made Sutton unforgettable. The first actor Sutton named was Marlon Brando, whose reputation for being brilliant on screen clashed with an annoying lack of professionalism behind the scenes. Sutton respected Brando's talent, but hated his methods. "Brando walks on asset like he's God's gift to cinema," Sutton said, "but try working with him. You'll see a man who thinks showing up late and mumbling through lines is art. To me, it's just laziness dressed up as genius." Sutton had built his career on hard work, discipline, and respect for the craft. Values mattered during his service in World War II. Brando's unpredictable style and hat for rehearsal were everything Sutton rejected, and he never forgave him for setting what he felt was a terribly example for younger actors. Next came James Dean, a person Sutton found more annoying than inspiring. While Dean was celebrated as a cultural icon, Sutton believed his reputation was way bigger than his body of work. 3 movies and suddenly the kid's a legend. "Give me a break," Sutton laughed. "I buried friends in the war who never got a headline, and here comes this guy brooding in a red jacket, and the world loses its mind. I never bought the hype." Sutton's words showed both his no-nonsense thinking and his anger toward Hollywood's tendency to worship troubled young stars while ignoring veterans who had put in years of sweat and sacrifice. The third actor Sutton couldn't stand was Tony Curtis, whom he accused of being more concerned with his looks than with his acting. Curtis could spend an hour in front of a mirror fixing his hair, but 5 minutes learning a script was too much trouble. Sutton joked, "You can paint a pretty face on a mannequin, but that don't make it an actor." For Sutton, who was proud of discipline and commitment, Curtis represented the shallow side of Hollywood, the reliance on charm and appearance rather than substance. Sutton then turned his anger on Robert Vaughn, star of The Man from Unseal. Though Vaughn was popular with audiences, Sutton saw him as pretentious and distant. Vaughn walked around like he was teaching a college class instead of shooting a scene. Sutton growled, "He'd quote Shakespeare to you in the morning and then mess up his linus in the afternoon, all brains, no guts." Sutton believed Vaughn put on an act of being smarter than everyone, something Sutton had little patience for. He respected plain-spoken honesty, not what saw as Hollywood smart guy showing off. The fifth name Sutton brought up was Montgomery Clift, a method actor whom Sutton never liked. While the others praised Clift's vulnerability, Sutton felt it often crossed into weakness. Clift always looked like he was about tokery, even in a war picture. Sutton said, "You put a rifle in that man's hands, and you don't see a soldier. You see a poet lost in a battlefield. That ain't the kind of acting that speaks to me." Sutton's dislike came from his own military background. He demanded deadness and realness in war roles, and Clift's delicate style clashed with his vision of tough masculinity. Number 6 on Sutton's list was Rock Hudson, whom he dismissed as wooden and uninspired. Hudson looked like a movie star, sure, but scratch the surface and you've got Amon reading lines like he's practicing for a school play. Sutton sneered, "Audiences might swoon for that jawline, but me, I'd rather work with a stagehand who knows his cues." Sutton believed Hudson was a product of studio marketing rather than natural ability, a symbol of how Hollywood often put image over talent. Finally, Sutton saved some of his harshest words for Georgia Peard, an actor he fought with personally. Sutton described him as arrogant, selfish, and nearly impossible to work with. Pepper thought he was the scant coming of Clark Gable, but all he really brought to the set was a bad attitude. Sutton raged. He'd undercut his co-stars, pick fights with directors, and walk off set if things didn't go his way. A soldier fights for his unit. Pepper fought for his ego. For Sutton, who valued friendship and teamwork, Pepper represented everything toxic about Hollywood stardom. By the end of his angry speech, Sutton made clear that his hatred wasn't just about personal dislike, it was about principle. He hated arrogance, laziness, vanity, and self-importance. "I came from the theater, from the service, from a place where you earned respect through hard work," Sutton declared. "If you think the world owes you fame, then you're already rotten inside." His words painted a vivid picture of a man unwilling to compromise his values. Even in an industry built on compromise, whether one agreed with his judgments or not, Frank Sutton's honesty was as brash, unapologetic, and memorable as the man himself on June 28, 1974. While getting ready for a performance in the comedy play Love at Beverly Barn Dinner Playhouse in Shreveport, Louisiana, Sutton died of a heart attack. He is buried in the Greenwood Cemetery in his hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee.